Okay, we're back for part 2 of talking with Sandy and Pam about their experiences as missionary kids in Africa. And if you watched last time, you know we've gotten to the point to where they were in boarding school and they talked about all that was like being a 7-hour drive away from mom and dad, nothing but letters, but somehow they survived and they adjusted very well. What we're going to be talking about now is the times that they got a chance to go with their mom and dad on ministry efforts and contacting actually the people they came there to work with. So you guys survived school somehow.
We did.
And then when you take the break, how long a break did you get? Was it like a summer break like we'd get here at school?
We go to school 3 months and have a month home.
And have a month home.
Yes.
Okay, that's the way it worked. So on that month that you were home, you would go with your mom and dad to different places. So
Yeah.
talk about some of the places that you went and what you saw and what you did.
Well, I mean, Mom, she worked, when we were in Arusha, she worked with the women, sewing classes, cooking classes. We always went to all of those.
Got involved in that too.
Okay.
And then they would go out into what we call the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically was a field. We
Under a
just had
tree.
church under a tree, and people would walk for miles and miles and miles to come.
I remember hearing you talk about one of your memories of Africa being there are just people everywhere.
Everywhere.
By the
Everywhere.
thousands,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Their idea of the personal space is different than ours.
Yeah, they don't mind being closer, do they?
No.
Okay.
And we would travel on these dirt roads. There were no rest stops or anything.
No rest stops.
So it'd
Okay.
be like we finally got to go to the bathroom. Men on one side of the road, women on the other. And you went quickly because there may seem like there was nobody around, but by the time you got back to the car, there were little people stepping out everywhere.
Surrounded.
Look,
Yeah.
couldn't even see them when you first
Couldn't
pulled
even
out.
No. So it was
Okay.
quick stops. They were
Quick
intrigued.
stops. Okay. Okay.
One of my memories is when we lived in Kisumu on Lake, what was the name?
Lake
Victoria. Lake Victoria. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fashion. Okay.
No.
Okay. Victoria. Okay.
This is what we do.
We'll let y'all work that out later.
And we took the boat that Mama had talked about that the mission board
Yes.
gave. And there was a leper island, and we would go out to this leper island. I remember when we first went, it was frightening as children because you'd see all these deformities, and it was scary. But then after a while, we just got used to it. It was just normal to us, you know, just playing
We
with
would
the
play with the
children,
kids.
playing with the kids, and I never once felt unsafe.
Did the children also have the leprosy, or were they the children of the people
Children
who had
of the
it?
people. I don't recall a child. Do you?
No.
I don't
No.
recall.
But these were families together on this
Yes.
island, and
Yes.
they were
Isolated.
Isolated
put on that
there.
island because they had leprosy.
Yes.
Right.
They were
Okay.
considered unclean.
And your dad would go there and minister to them, and you guys would play with
Every
kids
Sunday.
every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! Can you imagine how many? You have a figure in your mind of how many people, or it just seemed like just a bunch?
Just a bunch.
Just a bunch of people.
Just a bunch.
We pull into the, land, pull up there, and people just.
Just swarm.
Just swarm.
But you think these people had no hope, and this was just.
No
Isolated.
communication with anybody
Mhm.
else.
They're just on that island until they died.
They were thirsty for something. It's
Yes.
the best way I can say it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. And you talked about how you had family back here, but you weren't around them, but you were around other missionary families, right? Okay. So how did those relationships develop?
They became our family.
They became your family.
They became our family. We called the other missionaries aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And still
Like Pam
do.
said,
And still do.
today.
And every now and then connect with them.
Oh yeah, Facebook we connect all the time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And every year we would get together at, what was the name of the place?
Mission meeting at Breckenhurst.
At Brackenhurst.
Brackenhurst. Yeah.
Right outside of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have a week long where all the missionaries from everywhere came together
Huh.
and worked on what they were going to accomplish,
Okay.
different areas
The
for the next
planning
year,
and
the
all that.
planning.
And we had
Okay.
like Bible school.
Mhm.
That was
Huh.
our Bible school.
And we stayed in these neat little cabins, and it was so much fun. And
It was
at night after
fun.
the meetings, we'd have play cards and we looked forward to mission meeting every year.
good.
It was
A lot of
really
times
fun.
it was the one time a year that we'd be able to see some of our friends that
Huh.
we had, like when we left Dar,
Mm-hmm.
and went to Kisumu, we left friends there, missionary kids.
Mm.
And then when we went from Kisumu to Nairobi once again, we left those people that we were so close to. So it was one time a year that we got to
Okay.
all be together.
Were all of these Southern Baptist missionaries? Okay. But I know you had contact with missionaries from other
At our school.
groups
Just at school.
at your school.
At our
Okay,
at
got
boarding
you.
school was multiple denominations.
You know, I've heard Sam talk about this, that when you're overseas, you work with just about any other missionary that you can, if necessary, because there's so much work to be done.
Right.
Oh,
You can't just
absolutely.
say, this is mine, that's yours.
No.
You just work it
We're
together.
in this
You're in
together.
this thing together. Okay. Well, then you talk about, I heard your mom saying something about going on hunting trips.
Oh, it was the highlighter, yes.
So your
Loved
dad,
our hunting trips.
so your dad actually hunted in Africa
Oh,
For
for
our
meat.
food.
for your
Yes.
food.
Every
Yes.
few months, they would go out. and
If
get
I had to
something
hunt for my
our
food, we would starve to death.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
but
was,
he
that was
learned.
not just pleasure, we
That was so
had
You
to.
actually ate that.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
we had a freezer, we'd stock up and
Mom and
we were out
Dad
again.
processed all that themselves, and
Oh
so
my
we'd go
God.
with another missionary family and just have a
Stay in
ball.
tents,
Mhm.
just, like I said, you get out at night after the sun went down, you literally could take a flashlight and shine it around and there were just eyes.
Eyes.
Of animals.
They're animals, they
And
weren't
they
people.
weren't people, they were animals.
They were wild animals.
We remember the night we got out of the tent, we went to go to the bathroom and we screamed, there were two lepers just standing there. I think we scared them more.
You scared
than
them
they
more?
scared us.
Maybe they were interested in you too, maybe like the rest of them. I remember your mom talking about you're in the tent and you hear a lion roar.
Oh, yes.
And I think she
Yes.
said she stayed in the truck and left y'all in the tent.
I
Yeah.
believe that's what she said.
I think she did. I believe she did
And
say
I
that.
remember one night, Daddy came in, was whispering, "No, wake up, we gotta go to the truck." And so we went out to the truck, and there was a hippopotamus that was right next to our tent. So Daddy was so afraid he was gonna trample us and kill us. So we waited till it went on its way.
That's the thing about Africa, you don't know if you're the hunter or the huntee.
Yes.
You don't know what's coming next. Your mom told a story about your dad killing a 22-foot python.
Oh, yeah.
A village asked him to come out and do that.
Right. He went to a village to meet with people, and they said, "You gotta come. We have a snake out here that needs killing." Well, Daddy just thought it was a snake. It
Yeah.
was really a
Yeah.
snake. 'Cause
This
it was
thing moved in.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
eating their goats. It just goes over them.
Oh my word.
Yeah, so Daddy killed it.
All right. And he had the hide tanned.
Yes.
And I heard your mom say he donated that to
Cumberland College.
Cumberland
which is
College.
University of Cumberland.
University of Cumberland
She
South.
graduated from, and Pam and I both graduated from.
From University of
They
Cumberland.
have a museum there.
And it's in the museum.
And a gravy zebra skin that he killed is also there.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So,
Well, your mom had talked about, you have a younger brother. Todd was born there in
Yes.
He
Africa.
was born in Nairobi.
But around 4 or 5 years old, now both of you said you've had malaria
Yes.
I've had it 4
Okay.
Numerous
times.
times.
4 times,
Mhm.
and you took the
Once a week. we took
quinine pills. You
The
said
anti-malarial
start to say
medicine.
cyanide. That's not it.
Oh,
Okay,
And
so
slept with
quinine.
mosquito
and
nets.
mosquito
over it.
nets.
Mhm.
But Todd was bitten by a mosquito, and it affected his brain,
Yes.
and it got real serious then. So
Yes.
it was about time to come back for furlough. Now, what grade were you in at that point? Were you
I was getting ready to come home for my senior year.
your senior year?
Uh-huh.
So you ended up having to do your senior year in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were coming home on furlough.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Okay.
when he all of a
It
sudden
happened.
got sick on the plane.
on the plane.
Yes.
Sick on the plane. Okay. All right. So they're home a year, and then so they go back, and you went back with them.
Right.
You stayed.
Right.
What was that like?
It's scary.
Okay.
You know, it's scary. I went to Cumberland knowing nobody
So you graduated high school, then went to Cumberland
when they went
when they were over in that. Okay.
So you talk about being stranded.
Yes.
You know, I wasn't just at college where I could go home or if I had a problem, call. I mean, I had no communication with them. We didn't have phones. We didn't have
Internet.
computers, nothing. I was just
Mhm.
basically on my own.
So you figured it out.
Like I said, the mission board sent me over there between my freshman and sophomore year. But between my sophomore and junior year, they don't provide for that. They provide one trip. But we had a GA group at Birch Branch Church, our little church, that got together
So
and
cool.
organized this little SOS, they called it, Send Our Sandy, and collected enough money to send me back to spend the second summer. with
Well,
Mom
that's
and Dad.
neat. With
And
Mom
then by
Dad.
that time, that's when I graduated, and the two of us spent the summer together, and then the two of us came back to the
back.
States
So
to go
then
to
you came back and
college.
started college
Yeah.
that
Right.
freshman year, and you were going into your junior year or
Right,
senior.
junior year.
Okay, so that your mom and dad had another time in Africa.
Yes,
Then when they went on the next furlough,
then they resigned because of Todd's health problems.
concerned about Todd's health problems, so they
Mhm.
resigned.
Right.
I would imagine that was sooner than what your dad had planned
It
on.
definitely was.
I think it broke his heart.
It did.
Okay, that he
It
couldn't
did.
go back. Of course, you
Yeah.
do it for your child. You just can't
Mhm.
risk that.
That was home to Daddy
That was home.
anymore. That was what he called home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard your mom talk about how he had the chance to go back and do like short-term mission trips. How did that work out? I mean, what was the
Well,
motivation of getting that started?
Kentucky partnered with
Kenya.
Kenya Baptist and asked Daddy to go back. He was in charge of leading and training all those groups. And then
Okay.
he would go back and be an interpreter, and he loved it. That was such a great opportunity for
It
him.
was. It
I
was
want to think
perfect
she
for
said
him.
like 8
I
trips.
think
think
it
so.
was.
It was a lot.
He loved it. He loved
Now,
it.
you said he was fluent in
Oh.
Swahili,
Yes.
that he read his Bible in Swahili.
Mhm.
You told me earlier about a time he was praying in an English-speaking church. Tell that story.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, he was just, they asked him to, in the service he prayed and he just started speaking in Swahili. He prayed in Swahili because it was so natural to him. And they laughed about it, always talked about that Brother Marshall was speaking in
Speaking in
tongues.
tongues.
Speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
Well, and he wrote a book, and I can remember you saying, so his grandchildren would know about his life. I got a chance to read that. It's just amazing. I'm so glad he did that
We
because
just wish it had been longer.
yes, he was kind of
Daddy was the kind I want to get it over with.
get it over with,
Yeah.
get it done. But I'm so glad he did that part because
too.
it was so good to read and so interesting. So, how do you think in ways? How has been a preacher's kid, a missionary's kid? How did that prepare you for life, or how has that maybe affected the direction and thought of your life?
Well, it made us approach each step of our life with kind of a confidence,
Okay.
and used to being our own and have to do, because
Mhm.
there was no other choice. There was no alternative in each of these situations.
Like you said, the Calvary wasn't coming, were
No.
they? Nobody
No.
was going to save you from this.
No.
Okay.
So I think it prepared us
Mhm.
greatly
Mhm.
for life in general.
Our
Mhm.
world was big. And
Yes.
every time we'd come home from furlough, we've been to many European countries, and so we've just seen, and now the world's here, but we went, we got to see a lot of things.
Yes. And I remember you talking about just the simple things you wouldn't think about, how both of you were trying to fly in England, you had a ticket, yours didn't work,
Oh.
you didn't know if one was going to be left behind, and
No,
so, I mean, as momentarily upsetting as that is, when you run into difficulties now, how do you think that helped?
definitely helped.
Definitely.
I said something to Tyler the other day about problems and
Mhm.
inconveniences and things that a lot of people would think were problems. They were inconveniences for us,
inconveniences.
right, because we had to deal with so many.
I think
know-
we're very confident and independent because of it, had to be.
That, some people, every little problem is an emergency. Everything
Right.
is an emergency. And you just look at it, shake your head, don't you?
Oh, well, it is what it is one
Well-
of my favorite sayings.
Like I was telling you about college, I went to school at 11 years old, boarding school. When I came home to college, these little girls were crying. They were homesick, and I would be like,
You don't know anything,
"You
do
don't
you?
know anything." That's right. My
You
mom
don't
and dad
know
are in
what it
Africa.
is.
Yeah, Mama and Dad are in Africa. Well, it's just so neat talking with you guys and talking with your mom and getting a chance to hear from your perspective and her perspective what missions is. Because as Southern Baptists, we focus on missions on a regular basis. I mean, every month our church gives through the cooperative program, and we know part of that goes to support missionaries, not just in the United States, but overseas. And it's so easy to give the money but not realize where it goes.
Right.
And I would say you guys were probably a typical Southern Baptist missionary family that same thing can be viewed all over the world. The people that went to Asia, they went to Europe or whatever. It's just
I think even though at a very young age when we first realized, I think we always realized that mom and dad were special.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Had a special calling.
Uh-huh.
I think during that time, we grew to love people. See needs and love people.
see
Yes.
needs and
Yes.
love people.
It's been a big
Okay,
part of my whole life.
Yeah.
I think it started as a child.
watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To them, that was just natural. That's just what you did.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we always think, well, that's just what we do as a family. Well, that's so neat. I can't end this without talking about how your dad came and did a Valentine banquet for us. Hilarious.
He's so funny. Dad.
Just
So funny.
hilarious. I mean, I still tell people the story about him changing clothes in a store, you know, where the men's section was, and a guy was talking in the other booth. He thought he was talking to him. He was on his cell phone. You know, he told that story. And the guy said, wait a minute, this idiot in the other stall thinks that I'm talking to him, you know. So he was just so funny. But
We always enjoyed, Daddy loved to play the guitar and sing, and we would sing, and we would go with him and sing for the Africans. Of course, we would sing in English, but it would be hymns that they knew.
that they knew. Yeah.
And we would do that. And I know we went to a restaurant one night for something, and Daddy and I were the entertainment. And the cooks in the kitchen even quit. All the waiters and waitresses and the cooks in the kitchen even came out and just stopped and listened. Oh, they just applauded. But this dressing up in the overalls and entertaining like Daddy would do, that had always been something he'd kind of always wished he could do. And then after he came back to the States, he was asked to do that at a lot of different meetings, brotherhood meetings and different meetings.
I still remember. He was just so funny and so good. And now we get a chance to be entertained by these two on a regular basis that started in missions. So, you know, it's not all bad. Well, thank you guys for giving us a chance to kind of hear about all this and to know that we have someone here with us all the time who lived this. We live the idea of we're giving for missions. These people are going. You're the people. You were the people that went. So we look forward to seeing what's coming up next. All right?
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you for giving us a chance to be in your home and to have this time together.